I'm doing something different on here today. I haven't really done a tech talk video, but I thought, let me give it a shot. I admit I've got a problem. I love technology. My background is in computer technology. I was a systems administrator for a while, Java developer. The past, I don't know, almost 20 years I've been pastoring a church, but I've never lost my love of technology. And I use technology to try to get things done. Several years ago, I moved to using Chromebooks, and so those are the computers I like the best, just because there's a lot less overhead, a lot less to go wrong. The updates take 30, 40 seconds instead of sometimes on the Windows machines it takes much longer than that. But about I think 2 years ago or so, I received or got a Samsung Chromebook Pro, and I did a review of that here on the channel. Since then, I've added to my collection. I'm going to switch cameras here. Yes, so right now here are kind of my most recent laptops. I have the Samsung Chromebook Pro, which I like a lot. You can take a look on the review. I like the fact that I can use it as a tablet if I want to or need to. I ended up with a iPad Pro, I think 2019 version. I think I've had this for a year or so, mostly for stuff at the office. We have one use case that I use it for, or I was using it for, kind of, I'll get to that. And not too long ago, maybe 6-7 months ago, I picked up this HP Chromebook X2 that I like quite a bit. All right, so here's why I ended up with these three machines. The Samsung Chromebook Pro I purchased to take place of my aging Acer R11. And the reason why I got this one, again, I like the specs. This one has 64 gigs of storage, plus I believe the 4 gigs of RAM. M3, I believe. I like that I could use it as a tablet. And then I ended up with the iPad Pro again because there was a use case at the office that I needed to use it for. But then I got a little bit disappointed with this because I wanted to use Linux apps. I was using an app called Scrivener, mostly for Windows and Mac, but they did have a Linux version. And so I was using Crouton on here, using Scrivener. I wanted to use the Linux apps, waiting for that feature, but then I started reading that there was a good chance that this Chromebook would never have the Linux apps. And the other thing I didn't like all that much was the fact that I had a keyboard. Whenever I used it in tablet mode, you're sitting there feeling the keyboards on the back. I did like the fact that it had the the built-in stylus, charging, so you didn't have to worry about batteries or anything. That was nice. But again, the lack of Linux apps kind of started souring on this. And so that is why I'm going to move these two out of the way. I moved to this Chromebook X2 because it is a detachable, and I love that. I'll pull it out, use it in tablet mode. It works very well in tablet mode. I would log in, but I don't want to spend time typing my password in, and my phone is downstairs, or else I could just tap on my picture and it would log me right in. But this really isn't a review of the Chromebook 2. The other thing I got this for is because you can actually use Linux apps. And that brings me to my next point of my tech talk. I installed Linux, started using the apps, and started to desire to program in something called Flutter. Flutter, if you're unfamiliar, is a framework where you can program in the Dart programming language, which is a lot like Java, which I do have some Java development in my background. And you can create cross-platform mobile apps. So iOS, although you need a Mac for that, but iOS and also Android with the same code base. I thought that was great. I've started to teach myself Flutter. which is very straightforward, especially if you're coming from Java. And I didn't bring it up here, but I have another laptop I'm using for that. It's a Windows 10 laptop. I picked it up used for about $350. It is a Dell 7470, I believe. Has 16 gigs of RAM, an i7, I believe 6th generation, and a 256 gigabyte SSD drive. Works wonderfully. I use Android Studio, VS Code. Works great. Which brings me to my next thing. I would much rather be doing the development on the Chromebook. And so I've got this baby, and I like I said, I put Linux apps on here, and I installed VS Code, and I got Flutter all set up, and it actually works, but it is painfully slow. Painfully slow. This has 4 gigs of RAM. It's an M3 processor. It just, as far as I can tell, it just doesn't have the beefiness to be able to do any sort of serious development. So, where am I now? Not that it matters, but I'm looking down the pike. Samsung is coming out with a new, it seems like just a screaming machine, 16 gigs RAM, i7 10th generation, 256 gigabytes. I have no idea what the price is going to be. The base model is, I think, $1,000, and so I'm thinking this is $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. Don't know if I want to jump into that. Along the same lines, Lenovo's coming out with what's called a Duo. I think an Idea Duo. And this is a tablet I'm finding is just a little bit large. I mean, it works okay, but it's a little bit large. The iPad is a much better size for a tablet just in general. And basically all I'm using the iPad for now is just a pure tablet. It's just a little bit easier to pick up. It's a little bit less weight. The Lenovo IdeaPad, to me, will be the perfect tablet if you're wanting to stay in the Chrome ecosystem. And so, I don't know where it's going to end. If I do end up with any of these machines. Oh, I should also mention that, I forget, Acer or someone else is coming out with a beefier machine with 16 gigs and an i7, which is a little bit cheaper than what the Samsung's going to be. So there's an option there. I've also been looking into use Pixelbooks. They have 16 gigs RAM. The processor's a little bit older, but I'm trying to do some research. Hey, if anyone knows if that actually will matter, the processor in the Pixelbook versus the one in the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook, or the, I wish I could remember the other one. I can't offhand. But nevertheless, there's some exciting things happening in the Chromebook world. And again, I just feel like every time a new generation Chromebook goes out, they're a little bit closer to building maybe maybe not the perfect machine, but one that would really kind of have it all. To be able to do development, to be able to do just media consumption. And I'm really thinking that I could get rid of all this extra stuff and just go with the Lenovo Duet tablet plus some other Chromebook that I could basically run Linux on if I want to. But Flutter development, well, yeah, you do have to load in Linux to do Flutter development. But the nice thing is you don't need an emulator. You can do it right there on the computer, which is, I think, is great. So if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear some thoughts in the comments, maybe point to some articles. But like I said, if you're wanting to do some sort of cross-app development, Chromebook might be... I'm thinking I would much rather do a Chromebook. Just because, again, lot less overhead. It starts up pretty quick, but my Windows machine with the SSD drive starts up pretty quick too. But you still have the Microsoft updates, and you have still have all the overhead, and you have to run the emulator. And the Chromebook, I think, would just be a lot more native, and you could just do the apps right there. So anyway, that is the tech talk, and that's all I wanted to go through. So hope you're having a great day, and I might do some more of these as I think through technology and use cases. Maybe at some point I'll do a chat on why in the world a pastor would ever want to do development, maybe as a hobby. Nevertheless, I hope you're having a great day, and if you like this video, go ahead and do a like or subscribe. You know, everyone talks about doing that stuff. I'm not monetizing these, so this is just maybe to help you pass some time. Have a great day.